just praying that I got the technical stuff figured out, and it's actually happening. And you can see me, and this is being recorded. Yay! It is working! Yay! I can see little comments down below. Thank you. If you guys are here, say hello, because I would love to know who's here and that I'm connecting to someone in real time. This is a cool new thing. So thank you for being here, and forgive me for getting used to this setup and the awkwardness of trying to read your comments and teach and all of that. But my intention is that this is going to be a really fun class. And those of you who are watching the recording, welcome too, because I think this video is going to serve a lot of women who want to know how to not only live their best life ever, but really have their best year ever. So this is 2019 January, and all month I'm bringing you videos to really set the foundation for you to have the best year ever. Hello, Megan. Yes, I'm so encouraged by the fact that I can see comments happening. Let me just pop over to my laptop and see if I can see the live stream happening on my channel. Oh, thank you, Danielle. The sound is buzzy. I'm wearing a little mic. Let me see if I can bring it closer. If that can help. But this is all being recorded on my phone. So, how is the sound now? Is that any better? Yeah? Okay. I want to dive in because I have a lot of things I would love to share with you today, and I have a feeling it's more than an hour's worth. So we're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes to an hour. And shoot, it's buzzy. Why is it buzzy? Okay. Let's take a moment and figure out the sound for the benefit of everyone out there, all you people, and people listening to the recording. Okay. Let me see if it's my Siri. And tell me, I'll turn off the microphone. Is it better without the mic? Is it better? Any better without the mic, or is it more difficult to hear me without the mic? Plugging this back in. I know there's a delay. Without the mic. Okay. Well, then let's skip the mic. Whew! I'm glad we can move forward. And I'll just say a little prayer for all the technical gods and goddesses out there. Holy Spirit above them all, to just be over the technical part of this teaching, this live stream. Thank you. Thank you guys for the feedback. Let's dive in. So, living your best life ever by stepping into all God has for you, the feminine wholeness way. So really my intention for today is to inspire you with a bigger vision and to give you a rough map of some things to pay attention to this year so you can grow into the woman you're made to be. Yes. Hey, Katarina. So this channel is designed to be a part of your weekly wholeness routine to help you and inspire you to take supremely good care of the basics, body and soul, so you can do what you're here to do and feel so much joy inside, so much peace inside while you're doing it. So this whole month of January, I'm bringing you videos to help you really lay the foundation for your best year ever. And this, we're gonna focus on the spiritual side because this relates to living your best life ever. So super quick backstory. As many of you know, I started this YouTube channel many years ago, sharing Christian yoga practices and Christian meditations. And for years now, behind the scenes, I've been studying transformation and wholeness, and now I work as a coach. as a coach and an integrated hypnotherapist, helping women to holistically helping women to holistically heal their inner world so that they can really live from wholeness, embody love, and achieve their dreams along the way. So I just want to say right now, I have butterflies of joy. I'm calling them butterflies of joy. I'm nervous too because I care so much about this topic, and it's new for me to be live in this space. So just thank you for your grace here. Thank you for your prayers for me. And I'm just going to ask the Holy Spirit right now to be in my speaking and to be in your hearing, and to really, you have all the permission in the world to chew the meat and spit out the bones. So I'll tell you right now, I am not approaching this topic as a pastor, because I'm not one, or a theologian, because I'm not one. But what I am is a woman who has done a lot of studying and has had a lot of experience of helping other women connect to this wisdom that we all have within us. And hello, Evangelina. I love you guys chiming in. Please make use of the comments and just cheer, say hello to each other, encourage each other. Let me know if you really like a point that I'm sharing. Let me know if you have a question. So yeah, I just want to get that out there, because I am a woman who loves this topic with all her heart, and I am not a pastor. So please, please, please do not put me in that role. That's not the role I have in your life, and that's not the best way I can serve you. The best way I can serve you is to share with you my experience and my expertise and everything I've learned from this amazing world of wholeness and integration. And in my world, my faith is really blended into everything that I do, and maybe we share the same faith. And in my faith, love is everything. It's all about love. And love begins in the act of paying attention. And if you've watched any number of my YouTube videos on the Christian yoga practices and meditations, you've probably heard me say that phrase once or twice. Love begins in the act of paying attention. So the question is, what are we to pay attention to? What are we to pay attention to? If we want to really step into all God has for us, what are we to pay attention to? So I want to talk about that, and I want to share with you how we can step into all God has for us via the path of feminine wholeness. And we'll talk about what that is. So today we'll talk about what God has for you, what holds you back, like 3 things that really hold us back as women, and how we can move forward. How we can move forward with so much grace and peace and joy via what I call the path of feminine wholeness. And I can't wait to share with you specifically what that means. So it's all connected to your wholeness. It's your best life, your best year waits for you inside your hidden wholeness. And I don't believe you have to wait forever. You don't have to wait until you're old and gray before you start tapping into this wisdom. And wholeness is related to your holiness. And holiness is not about perfection, but it's about those God moments, about being so in the flow, so connected, that you can just say a big yes to whatever it is that love has for you. And for me, this is the purpose of our life, is to just live in supreme agreement with love, and to let love carry us into the most divine romance and adventure. And wholeness is what enables us to live in supreme agreement with love, which is what we all really want. Anybody agree with me out there? Love, experiencing love, receiving love, giving love is what we all really want. So simply put, a lot of times this just comes down to stop overthinking and start trusting more. Start trusting God more, yourself more, the wisdom, the beauty, the goodness that is around you and within you. So there is a scripture I want to share with you as a prayer, and it's the Message version of 1 Thessalonians 5:23-24. Whew, yes. Paul says, "May God himself, the God who makes everything holy and whole, make you holy and whole, and put you together, body and soul." So that's what it's really about. Yes, Catherine, right? We really just want to be love, to be able to embody love so fully, so joyfully, that we return to that innocent place where we aren't afraid to be our truest self, to shine, to show up bigger in the world, to serve more from a place of abundance and overflow instead of the pressure to be liked or the need to be validated. But there's so much freedom when we embody love, and we get to live in this peaceful confidence and grace. And we're really in the moment. And so many women that I talk to crave more presence. They really just want to be able to be present, to have more space in their life, to slow down and just be. So for me, when we embody love and live in wholeness, we get so many good gifts. And presence is one of those gifts. Joy is one of those gifts. And peaceful confidence is another one of those gifts. And there are many, many more. So here's my take on the 4 things God has for you this year and your whole life. So get ready to take some notes, and I will just read your comments. Yeah, that's exactly right, Katarina. Katharina says, "I just realized that living from a pure place, removing all the garbage and just being." Yeah, and do we believe that's possible? Do we really believe that's possible? And I am telling you it is. Wherever you're starting from today, it is possible to connect to the wholeness within and to more and more live from that place. And it becomes effortless. It becomes just how you are in the world. It isn't something you have to strive for. You don't have to strive for the peace or the joy. It just flows out of you. So, are you guys ready to take some notes? Yes. I will say this too. All of this came as kind of like a cosmic download last week. So I was writing frantic notes in my journal, and I just immediately felt I wanted to share this with you. So I haven't had a lot of time to really piece apart all of these points, and so I'm just gonna offer it to you and trust that you're gonna take it into your journals and into your prayer life, and God's gonna speak to you. The Holy Spirit's gonna speak to you. These things are going to awaken different things within your own heart and your own life, and this can be like a springboard for more conversations with God when you are just with Him. So, candidly, let's talk about the 4 things God has for you. Number 1 thing I believe God has for each one of us this year is our desires. So number 1 thing that God has for you is your desires. What are your desires? There's so many things. So for one, it's your simple pleasures. All the things that lights you up. All the things. Things that are so tiny and small. Like these earrings totally light me up. I love their color. I love the way they feel. I love the way I feel when I'm wearing them. So all the things that light you up. Your favorite color, your favorite time of day, your favorite way to drink your coffee or tea. God has for you all the things that light you up. So pay attention to your simple pleasures. Get really curious and start tracking it. It's such a good habit to start tracking your delights. So in your journal every day, just start that. A lot of us have a gratitude practice, and this is a part of it, is just start noticing and tracking what lights you up. Your simple pleasures and also your big dreams. These dreams that maybe you've had since you were a child. Or these new dreams Whatever it is, where you go there and you start daydreaming in your mind. Maybe it's a really special trip, an adventure somewhere. Maybe it's having a baby, or buying a house, or getting married. Whatever it is, your big dreams, that's what God has for you. So you can trust what lights you up. This is where we have to begin. Desire leads us home. It leads us into the things that God has for you. So simply put, if it makes you happy, make sure you're making time for it regularly. If it makes you happy, do it regularly. So playing music, for instance. I realized last year that I love playing the piano. I love singing, and I am not a trained musician. I can barely just kind of make out some notes when I'm reading music, but I have so much joy when I do it. So this year, going into this new year, I'm like, okay, this makes me happy. These are some of my joy moments from the biggest joy moments of 2018 when I reflected on it, were when I was playing music. So I want to make sure I have that on my calendar. I make specific time each week to do that. So you can do that too. Just take a note of the things that make you happy, the things, the simple pleasures, just when you feel that you are just in that place, you're content, you're feeling that joy and bliss. And then schedule those into your calendar just like you would your workouts, just like you would your other appointments. It's so important. That's a way to honor what God has for you. Okay, and of course there's so much more we can unpack on each one of these topics, but I want to kind of give you the lay of the land, put it all out there, and then over the course of this year we can dive into the things that you want to know more about. So the second thing God has for you, this is the obvious one, but it's very, very true. God has for you His promises. And all you have to do is Google, what are the promises of God? And you're going to get a lot of ideas and a lot of things from Scripture. So my favorite promise of God is something that Jesus says in John 10:10, where He tells us that He has come to give us life to the full. That is His promise, life to the full. Another promise I love is all the fruits of the Spirit. All the fruit of the Spirit. So love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's what He has more of for us this year. And if you're curious about other promises of God, just Google promises of God and then pay attention to which ones stand out to you. Which promises make your heart leap? Maybe they're the promises about protection. Maybe they're the promises about taking care of your needs. Whatever it is that just makes you, like, your eyes light up and you become a child again and you just dare to hope that yes, that is for you, write it down. That is something God has for you this year. So yeah, all the promises that we find in Scripture. The third thing God has for us this year are the holy whispers, the divine visions, the things that feel too big, maybe, but you've been given a word or a vision around them. And maybe it was just an instant, maybe it was just a flash, but you know it was a holy whisper. You know it was a divine vision. You saw something, you heard something, and it felt like an invitation to co-create something, to participate with God in a specific way. And this may come with a feeling of, no, I can't, like that's too much, too big. Who am I, right? Like that's a classic, when we get a vision or we get a word, who am I to be able to do this? But that's another thing that God has for us, is to lean into those holy whispers, those divine visions, and sometimes it comes with a lot of fear, like it's too big, it's too much. And other times maybe it just comes with resistance, how you're like, no, I don't even know if I want to do that. Or like, why would you ask me to do that? That type of response, but somewhere deep inside you know it's holy. So I'll just share an example from my own life. Some of you know my story and some of you don't. So I'll keep it kind of short because this is not the time and the place to go into it. But a really big holy whisper, divine vision that I received last year was making space for my son's biological father to be in relationship with us and to actually invite him and his wife into our family. So my son's biological father had never met Luca, my son, for nearly 12 years. He was out of the picture as soon as I found out I was pregnant, and he really made it clear that he didn't want anything to do with us. So life went on, and I got remarried, and my husband adopted my son, and we had this amazing, sweet little family. We had another baby, and it was just the four of us. But we always prayed that my son's biological father would kind of wake up to this gift of fatherhood, right? And that he would want to be a part of Luca's life. But you pray those things, and then when they come, when they happen, that's a whole nother story. And so last year, my son's father reached out to me, and he wanted to open up the lines of communication. And this was after nearly a dozen years of no communication. And my first response was to put up walls, because I had a flood of memories, right? Of the hurt and the resentment and the unforgiveness and these petty thoughts inside, like, who is he to come back around now, right? You know, I'm human. But there was a deeper vision and a deeper whisper that said, forgiveness leads to love, love, and more love. So I got this divine vision of us being like reconciled, and there being this redemption story for him and for my son. But I also, of course, in the flesh, like, had so much resistance to it. But I leaned in to what I knew was a divine vision and a whisper, and I just decided to trust. And I'll tell you, it wasn't perfect. It was messy last year. There were a lot of bumps on the road. But this last Christmas, just a few weeks ago, we got to make dinner, Christmas dinner, for my son's biological father and his wife, and having them in our home, being this really modern family, felt so right. It felt filled with the Holy Spirit, and there was just love, love, and more love. So we can do hard things. With the guidance, the grace of God, we can do really hard things. So I say that hopefully as an encouragement to you to lean into the things that you may feel resistance towards or seem scary. You don't have to do it perfectly to be faithful, right? Okay, and the fourth category of what I know God has for us this year is wholeness. And wholeness relates to holiness, and He's called all of us to be saints. And to be a saint, to really be holy, isn't at all about being perfect. It's about being so present that you are available to hear God and to allow God to move in you and to be a big yes. So I want to talk about wholeness and unpack it a little bit and take it maybe out of the abstract realm and maybe even out of the spiritual realm and like bring it down to earth. Let's talk about wholeness in a way that we can like hold on to it, right? And like get an understanding of what it looks like to pursue wholeness as a woman in this time and this place. Because wholeness, I'll say this again, I want you to hear it. Wholeness is what gives us the capacity to receive and experience the fullness of all God has for us. All of our desires, all of His promises, all of those holy whispers and divine visions. So all of it comes down to us living in and living from our wholeness. A simple way I like to understand wholeness, and maybe this is a little too poetic for some of you out there, but this is how I understand wholeness. Wholeness is living in supreme agreement with love with your whole self. Body, mind, heart, spirit, and sex. our sexuality. And I make that its own category because it's been neglected for too long, and there's so much brokenness and hurt and shame around our sexuality as women that it really deserves its own category, so we can really unpack it and we can pay specific attention to it and bring love to that place that has caused so many women so much pain. So, wholeness is living in supreme agreement with love with your whole self. Body, mind, heart, spirit, and sexuality. So let's take each of those and just unpack it a little more. Our body. Living in supreme agreement with love in our body means taking supremely good care of the basics. Our physical health. Understanding that this is our temple. Not just the outside, the inside, our organs, every single system, our respiratory, cardiovascular, immune, reproductive system. We have so many systems, and learning how to take supremely good care of the basics is how we can begin to live in supreme agreement with love. Because our bodies are amazing, and when they are functioning optimally, it is way easier to be present. Am I right? It is way easier to feel sexy. Has anyone tried to go on a date when their digestion system was not cooperating? It is near impossible to feel sexy, right? And when there's pain, and that we're living with chronic pain, or we're living just not really at home in our own skin, it separates us from our soul in some way. It's a little harder to just be present. So this temple is really, really important. And understanding your body as a temple and really pursuing good health as a basics. And you don't have to make it complicated. This is what I love about taking supremely good care of the basics, is that it starts with really simple things. Water, hydrate. Let's all hydrate right now. If you have some water near you, let's all take a second just to take a sip. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. So taking supremely good care of the basics in your body means addressing the low-hanging fruit. All of us have access to clean water. This is a gift. This is a blessing. Like, make sure you're getting at least half your body weight in ounces every single day. So I have a goal of just drinking 100 ounces, because I know that if that's my goal, I will at least drink 60 or 70. So water, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Another simple thing you can do is just start getting super good about your bedtime routine, because sleep is essential. Sleep, good rest is essential to taking good care of the basics of your body and giving yourself the time and the space to really renew the body, allow the body to regenerate. And so it'll serve you in so many ways. This whole class can be about how we can take care of the basics. In a couple weeks, I think it's next week actually, I'm bringing you a video on my favorite self-care practices for your best body ever. Best body ever meaning the functioning of your body, not just how it looks on the outside, but how it feels on the inside. So look for that. I think it's the next week's video. Okay, mind. What does it look like to live in supreme agreement with love in our mind? This is all about renewing our mind. And this is one of the things Jesus calls us to do, is to renew the mind, because he knew, like, there is so much bad programming in there. So much bad information gets in. So many lies get in. So many limiting beliefs in the end. So we really got to be so deliberate about renewing the mind, and practices to help us renew the mind. So one of the things we can do is just be very deliberate about what we focus on. Are we focusing on our grievances or our gratitudes? Because what we focus on expands. This is a little phrase that I learned from Tantra, and I love it because it's so true. Play it out in your life and tell me if you think it's true or not. Energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows where attention grows. Energy builds. And so the things that we focus on, we're building energy there. If we want more things that we're grateful for, if we want to feel that joy and peace more, we got to be putting our energy there. So a really simple way all of us can start renewing our mind is just being very deliberate about what we are focusing on throughout the day and taking every thought captive. And when we notice we are dwelling in our offenses and our grievances and all of that, to shift gears. It may not feel like the most natural thing at first, but over time it will, and you will start training your mind to look for the good, to look for the beautiful, to look for the true around you. Also, another piece to this is becoming aware of the story you are living. This is your unconscious programming. And really examining, is this leading you into more love, or is this leading you into fear? Is this leading you from fear? So I'll just pause here because it's been a while since I've checked in with you guys. How are we doing with this? How is it sitting with you? Is it resonating? I'm sure it's something many of you are already aware of and practicing, but this is so important, that this presence that we all long for really is about an awakening into this realization. Every single moment we get to create something new. Life can really begin in every single moment. When we wake up and we decide, when we place our attention on the things we really want, when we become aware of the old stories we've been repeating. Like, this is the first step. It's just becoming aware of the story you are living right now. And what is it? What are the beliefs that you're living from? Are they liberating beliefs leading you into wholeness and love and freedom and a bigger life? Or are they limiting beliefs? Yeah, leading you into a place of living small, fear. Jess says, so true, yes. Catherine says, it's resonating with me. I'm trying to understand how to live like that day to day. At work, if I get upset, frustrated. Yeah, like this video today is about kind of giving you the lay of the land, and over this next year we're going to go into more detail about how we can live this out day to day, because there's so much we can do. There's so many practices, there's just a lot of good tools that we can start incorporating. So that's my commitment to you, to be bringing those to you this year. Danielle says, I've been trying to focus my attention energy on the positive. It really is a practice and takes time to retrain our brains, but it's so good. Yes, and remember this, you guys, it really is a practice, and what we practice, we get good at. What we practice, we get good at. We don't have to be good at it right away. That's an unfair expectation, right? Like, we're practicing it because we're not good at it yet. So take the pressure off. Don't expect yourself to be super good at it right away, and just commit to continue at it because it has so great rewards. B says, I've been on the beginning of a healing journey for a while, and I've felt stuck up until the last few months, and can't believe how much your wisdom and love have helped. Oh, thank you for letting me know that, really. Thank you so much. All right, let's talk about our heart. What does it mean for our heart to live in supreme agreement with love? This looks like honoring your heart. This is all about your emotional well-being. And this is where, like, we gotta give ourselves the space, literally the physical space and time to be with whatever we are feeling. We gotta give ourselves a safe place to feel. And yeah, just feel maybe some of those unpleasant feelings. And this is also a practice, because a lot of us women have been trained not to feel feelings like anger. We've been trained not to feel some of the darker emotions. So this actually, doesn't work because we're human and we have the full range of emotion, and no emotion is bad as long as we allow ourselves to move through it, to feel it and allow it to complete itself and to move through. So one of the ways I have a practice of honoring my heart is just coming into stillness, checking in, and really feeling what's underneath that level of, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. What's underneath that? What's just one layer down? And sometimes all it takes is just asking the spirit to help. Like, help me feel into what's just one layer down beneath that numbness or that I'm just fine, I'm okay. And then something may rise up, and maybe it's sadness, maybe it's grief, maybe it's anger. But I've given myself the time and the space, somewhere where that's private, it feels like I'm safe. And then I just allow myself to go through the embodiment of that emotion. And it's so, so healing. So last year I spent a lot of time in grief. And I didn't know exactly what I was grieving, but some part of me just really needed to grieve. And so when that emotion would come up, and I had given myself that time and space, maybe it looked like an hour on a Saturday where I could be alone in my room, that feeling of grief would come up, and I would just go into the embodiment of wailing. So I would be on my knees and open up my arms and just allow myself to wail, and not overthink it, and not try to figure out why I felt this way. We don't need to get into story here. To honor our heart, we just gotta be with the emotion and allow ourselves to embody it fully so that it can complete itself. Because once it's complete, we'll know, because we'll feel free. And this may happen in one go, or it may take a few goes, like forgiveness work, right? Sometimes it's not once and done. But do this regularly, and it's like, oh, it's the most freeing practice. Sometimes what you really need to feel is that anger. And so I love to turn on something with a heavy beat and just like storm around my room and just scream into a pillow and throw my fist into the bed and kick and scream and just give myself the time and space to have a tantrum. And that can be really healing. And so here's the thing, like all these emotions are safe. Like we can feel it all. We can even feel hate. We can feel jealousy. We don't have to worry about being sucked into that dark place as long as we truly, fully embody it with the intention of allowing it to move through us and be released. We're not interested in the story around it. We're not interested in anchoring ourselves to those emotions. What we're interested in is getting to the other side where there is peace and freedom and joy. And if we spend a lifetime burying these unpleasant feelings, there may be a lot to unpack, but we can do it. We have that power. This is one of the ways we can begin to heal ourselves. So this is about understanding your presence as a sanctuary. Your very feminine presence is a sanctuary. Your body is a sanctuary, and your presence, your heart is a sanctuary, a safe place for the least of these to dwell. So I like to think about how Jesus was a safe place for the least of these, right? He was a safe place for the exiles, the women, all the people that society had rejected. Well, each of us have these least of these exiled ones within ourselves. The inner little girl, the inner teenager, the rebel, the princess. There's so many parts of ourselves that we've decided don't belong. And we need to become a safe place for these parts so we can love ourselves back into wholeness, right? There's so much to say about this. And over the next year, we'll be talking more about it. But this is a big piece. Learning how to mother ourselves really, really well. And to become a sanctuary. Our presence is the sanctuary, a safe place for others and a safe place for all the parts of ourself that need to feel like they belong to. Okay. So I could go off. I could spend an hour on any one of these, and I'm making myself just stay with my notes so I can give you guys the lay of the land, the entire lay of the land. So the fourth thing, the fourth aspect of wholeness, our spirit. What's it like to live in supreme agreement with love in our spirit? So in some ways, our spirit is in supreme agreement with love. It just is. Like we're just already like this, like BFFs with God, like our spirit. And so this is about you owning your spiritual power. It's owning your identity as a daughter of God. It is owning your baptism. It is owning your unique connection to God, because you have one, and your voice matters, and your connection and how you hear and how you see the divine matters. Yes, my feminine presence is a sanctuary. That's right. Oh my God, yes, mother ourselves. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so untracked and tuned into your message. Oh, thanks, Katarina. So yeah, this is something I think all of us really need to focus on, is how we can own our spiritual power. And part of this is just like the time and place in history. Right now, women are rising, and I'm not a political person, and I'm not interested in, I don't have a political message, but there is a collective awareness, a consciousness around women's voices, all kinds of women's voices, all shapes, all colors, all ages, all sizes. And this is really, really important. Owning our spiritual power. You have a voice. There's a place for you. We want to hear from you. We want to know your story. Own it. Be proud of it. Trust the way that you hear from God, that wisdom speaks to you. Right? Yes. Yeah, I'll pause there. Of course, there's more to say, but I'll pause there because there's more I want to share. Our sexuality. What does it look like to live in supreme agreement with love in our sexuality? This is really about honing your sexuality for good. Honing means to refine. So our sexuality is like this raw fuel. It's like money in a lot of ways. There's like this power to it. It can do things, but in and of itself, it's not good or bad. It's raw fuel, and it depends on how we use it that makes it either for the good or for harm. So we don't have to be afraid of this power within us. We have this power. The more we draw near to it and regain trust and intimacy with this part of ourselves, the more we are capable of using it for good. So this is about trading shame for dignity. Dignity, our dignity as women, that our bodies are sacred. It's about understanding your feminine genius, which is something I want to talk about this year too, because there's a lot to unpack there. Your feminine genius, that term feminine genius, was actually coined by Pope John Paul II in like 1960. He wrote a treatise called On the Dignity of Women. It was all about this special quality that women bring to the world. So right now what I'll say is just this is about understanding your dignity, really embodying your dignity, understanding your beauty, and not shying away from your beauty. Also your gifts. The gifts that you've been given as a woman, the unique gifts you've been given, and the fact that all women are here to be a safe place for life to grow. Not just life in the wombs, but spiritual life. For the goodness and truth and beauty in others. A safe place for all of that to be nourished and grow. And so the first thing we got to become is a safe place for ourselves. And isn't this true that, I remember being a little kid and my mom was teaching us, about what happens if we get separated from her in a grocery store and who we should look to for help. And she always taught me, and maybe your mom taught you this too, is look for a grandma or a mother with children. And there's something just so universally safe about the feminine, a mother with children or a grandma. Like we can feel safe there. And that's part of our feminine genius, that we are meant to be a safe place to the world, to the good in the world, to the good in ourselves. And so this is connected to our sexuality. And man, there's so much I want to share with that, but I'll just underline this part that it's time to trade in the shame for our dignity. And our dignity doesn't come by way of being more like a man and acting like a man. Our dignity comes by really embodying our feminine genius, where there is a tenderness to that. There is a nurturing, and it doesn't make us weak. It actually makes us really powerful. That we can embody this power, this peaceful confidence, and know that there is like this light, this radiance around us that provides a sanctuary for others and ourselves. Most importantly, ourselves. Because until we can be that safe place for ourselves, it's gonna feel like we are giving to others out of that lack. And we're gonna start feeling like martyrs or more resentful of the ways that we're called to serve or be there for others. When we really learn how to hold space for ourselves and have that safe boundary, it becomes easy to hold space for others, because we know that it's not taking anything away from us. There's just a love that's able to flow through us, and it's really the work of the Spirit in us that allows that. And so we don't have to feel so much pressure that we have to be the one to fix everything or to fix someone else. We just get to abide in every moment in who we are and just trust that that's enough. And our presence will always be the most healing thing about us, will always be the sexiest thing about us too. So yes, this year, our sexuality, living in supreme agreement with love, honing our sexuality for good, starting with trading that shame for dignity. All right, a wholeness recap. Let me check in with you guys. How are you doing? What's really standing out to you? What's bringing up some questions? I'd love to hear it in the comment. So to recap, wholeness is about living in supreme agreement with love, with your whole self, body, mind, heart, spirit, and sexuality. And wholeness is what gives us the capacity, physically, mentally, spiritually, energetically, to receive and experience the fullness of all God has for us. Our desires, His promises, the fruition of our divine visions and holy whispers. Megan says, the feminine genius. I love that. Yep. Me too. Miriam says, my feminine presence is a sanctuary. It absolutely is. Own it. So let's talk about what keeps us from all this now, because we're all aware that there are some things that are keeping us from becoming the women we know we are called to be. We can feel that woman somewhere inside, and yet there's some things that are blocking that. So let's talk about what is keeping us from all God has for us, and I call it the triple D's. Number one thing, disappointment. Disappointment is keeping us from becoming the woman that we know we are meant to be. And this is about all the heartbreak of our experiences not being met. Our expectations, the heartbreak of our expectations not being met. And I would say this is one of the most painful things to experience, because it feels like a fall every single time. And really, I think the first time that we experience a big disappointment is when we kind of lose our innocence. We lose that power of that childlike belief, that innocent place where we believe that the world is good, that people are good, that we can expect good. And when we experience this heartbreak of our expectations not being met, or the shock of some cruelty or wound, it is just so painful. It's really, we don't even know if we want to love again or try again, you know? I remember my first romantic heartbreak. It was so painful and so disappointing that gosh, thank goodness that this wasn't a vow that stuck, but I vowed to never love again. Like, how dramatic is that? This was like my 19, 20-year-old self, and I even contemplated getting a tattoo on my forearms that said, no love. Thank God I did not get those tattoos. I would probably have to change it into one love or something, I don't know. But it's true, like all of us have experienced this heartbreak of our expectations not being met. And when those expectations are around love or around God or around another human being, it does hurt so bad. It's so painful. We lose our innocence, and it keeps us from the more God has for us. So what is the remedy? The quick and easy way is to grieve and move on. Yeah, of course there's a lot there, but this is the path to make time and space to grieve those disappointments and then to move on. And to really choose that today is a new day, to live in the present and to believe in the power of everything. Things can change moment to moment. When we live in the present, we know we have a choice. We can courageously step into all the things that we really, really want from a clean slate, not being tied down by all of our past disappointments, the memory of those that keep haunting us and keep us playing small out of fear of more pain again. And you know that quote, dance like no one is watching and love like you've never been hurt? Yeah. This is really serious. If we really want to move into the more and really become this more expansive, more shiny and radiant version of ourselves, we cannot let our past disappointments define us anymore. And I have lived my fair share of disappointments. I had no intention of becoming a single mom at 26. And when I got pregnant, I was devastated. My heart broke for so many reasons. I had so many expectations that were not going to be met. And I lived in a dark place for some time because I just didn't see the way out of that story. My focus was on what had happened and the pain of what had happened and how I didn't have any control to fix it, instead of being focused on my future and what I could do and what I could control, which is about choosing gratitude. And when I made that shift when my son was born, and I was overwhelmed with him and the magic of him, like something shifted in me, and I chose to stop living from the disappointments and to start living into the delight of getting to be a mom and getting to create these experiences for him that were filled with romance and adventure. We're filled with awe and wonder and beauty. I had that much power. And so this was like getting him into his car seat when he was like 9 months old and just driving to the beach to watch the sunset. Things like that. That even though I was a single mom and I lived at home with my parents, like I still had power to create beauty in my world. Beauty for him and beauty for me. But if I had lived in that disappointment of becoming a single mom and that identity and that shame and that heartbreak of the expectations, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to step into everything that I'm doing now. And so it's so important to recognize, where have we felt that disappointment? Where have we been heartbroken when our expectations weren't met? And then give ourselves the time and the space to grieve that. And we don't know how long it's going to take to fully grieve it. And there may be cycles of grief where you go through a cycle and you feel good, and then a year goes by or 10 years go by and you realize you need to go through a new cycle of grieving, and that's okay. But keep moving forward. This is a new day. Orient yourself to what you want, to your delights. What delights you? What lights you up? Return to that list, those desires. And don't let yourself be held back by your disappointments. So the second thing that keeps us back from all God has for us is doubt. This is overthinking. This is like the curse of overthinking, which so many of us feel. And this is something I'm really working on in my life, because I am the queen of overthinking. I can be the queen of overthinking, but now that I'm aware of it, I'm making changes to not be, to move into more trust and to move into just action from that place of intuition, instead of, spending so long on that hamster wheel in my mind, right? So doubt comes from either not healing from our disappointments, or from what we learned from our parents growing up. Maybe their limiting beliefs or other authority figures and what they said was either not possible or possible for us. And doubt can be passed down from generations. And It's doubt around who God is. Maybe this doubt that maybe God doesn't really want me to have my desires. Maybe he's punishing me for something. Maybe my desires aren't that good and I'm not meant to trust what lights me up. Maybe I can't trust my heart. Maybe my heart's not good. You know, all of this doubt that really keeps us from just being a big childlike yes, right? A big yes to God. So another layer of doubt could just be how the world works, how you can't trust anybody, how men can't be trusted. You know, I hear that a lot with the women that I coach. There's just this limiting belief that no man can be trusted. And really just doubt about how much power we have to create change in our life, and doubt about our own worth and our own value and what we are capable of as women. So that doubt keeps us from what God has for us. And and it's okay to have doubt, but we got to move through it and just choose to have faith. Just like choose not to overthink it and just choose. Childlike choice to be in supreme agreement with love. And the more we just choose it, the easier it gets. And for me, this looks like when I recognize I'm overthinking, I need to slow down and go do something I love. Go do something that lights me up, to get back into that state of pleasure, that state of delight. And then I can hear again. And then I can move from intuition and just being that supreme yes. So the remedy for this one is to take every thought captive. It's like when you notice you're going into overthinking and doubt, when you notice you are feeling this grievance or this resentment from past disappointments come up, take those thoughts captive and move into a state of bliss, pleasure, delight by doing something that lights you up, and then start again. Okay, the third thing that keeps us from what God has for us and really living our best life is a lack of discipline. And discipline is one of those words that maybe you don't like so much. But here's the truth. We need a bit of discipline in our life. And this is where we want to have that balance of good masculine and good feminine energy. And so lack of discipline looks like just letting life happen however it happens, not really being proactive about the things that we really want, not taking action, not pursuing, not initiating the things we really want. So we don't sit down and set any intentions or goals, and we make the excuse that we don't have any time, or nothing really comes true anyway, so why bother? Or I always fail, so why bother? A lack of discipline looks like we don't learn from, what did my notes say? We don't learn from those who come before us. Oh, yeah. So we decide that it's all up to us, and we don't bother to just stand on the shoulders of the people who have come before us. We can learn from others, and that's so great that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. But if we don't bother to study those who have come before us, those who have done the work and really paved the path, if we don't bother to study or to learn, then we are setting ourselves up for a harder road. And so having this growth mindset of knowing that we can learn new things, no matter how old we are, we can learn new things. An old dog can learn new tricks, right? And it's so important to move into that place of possibility and not have the fixed mindset that says, it doesn't matter, I can't change anything anyway. Or this is just the way I am, it's no use trying. I just have never been someone that likes sex, and so I'm just never gonna like sex. That's just how I am, who I am, for example. And it could be a plethora of things. And this is another culprit of a lack of discipline, is we let ourselves be distracted all the time. And this is really taking the power back of realizing, like, it's not our culture's fault that we live in a distracted culture and we all have these devices that, you know, keep us on edge all the time with all the notifications and all the, you know, we can just scroll and scroll and scroll for new inspiration. We can blame our devices, we can blame our culture, but that is giving our power away, and that is a lack of discipline. And so really owning the fact that we have the power. We get to define the relationship with our devices. We get to set limits and honor those limits. We get to turn off all notifications on our phone if that helps. We get to not bring our phone into the room at night, to really not be on a screen 2 hours before bed. So the remedy for a lack of discipline is to decide what it is you really want. And this is a quote from Rachel Hollis, and I love it so much. And she says, what is it that you want most, not what you want now? Like, really get clear on what you want most. Choose what you want most over what you want now. Don't let yourself be just swept into whatever the world is doing, or whatever energy is going on around you. Like, decide what you want and then set the parameters, create some intentions and some goals, and give yourself a structure so you can have the things that you want. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen on its own. We're meant to do the good work, and it's not the work of striving. And this is where I want to talk about the path of feminine wholeness, because this is not about willing ourselves to be better or striving. That doesn't work. Like, we fail every time just because it doesn't have the sustaining power. It is not strong enough, but there is another path. And this is the path of feminine wholeness, the path of delight. So this is the better way. And here's where I want to spend the remaining of the time talking about. The path of delight is everything. It is the path of love. It is that childlike innocence of living in the moment, of experiencing joy and whimsy and simple things. It's about letting it be easy where it can be. It's about embodying a gentleness and a joy and a tenderness that just, we all can breathe a little bit easier. It's about slowing down and not moving on too quickly until you've really embodied the lessons, the wisdom that you've discovered. So we all hear something, maybe it's a quote on Instagram, somebody shares a story or shares a quote, and it pings us and our hearts light up. And then we move on too quickly and we lose it. It doesn't ever have a chance to set roots in us and change us. The path of delight lingers longer in the things that inspire us. And it just marinates in those good things, and it knows that one good thing is enough to carry us through the entire day. So the path of delight is about living and focusing on gratitude, about tracking the things that light us up, and about choosing those things. Hi, Amy. Miriam says, yes, doubt that I deserve. I'm reading your comments now, sorry. Miriam says, yes, I doubt that I deserve what I feel in my heart to be and do. Yeah. So when we move into the path of delight, one of the byproducts is that overthinking just dissolves away. The path of delight brings us into the moment where we get to connect to this childlike belief in things. We're living from our intuition. We're living from joy. And maybe you've heard the term the honeymoon effect. And for anyone who's been in love, you can attest to this, that when you fall in love, you experience the honeymoon effect, which is a state of bliss, passion, energy, and health, resulting from a huge love. And this can happen when you have a baby too, when you're just in that baby mama bliss. This can also happen when you have a spiritual experience, a conversion experience. Or it can happen just out of nowhere, when you fall in love with your mission or the work that you're doing in the world. So what the honeymoon effect is just that state of bliss, that state of passion, energy, and health resulting from a huge love. And it's a time when your life is so beautiful that you can't wait to get up and start a new day, and you are just so thankful to be alive. So the honeymoon effect is coined by Bruce Lipton, PhD, who wrote a book about the science of creating heaven and earth. And I've recently come across his work, and I'm so grateful just for another person who is articulating this, because this is what I mean by the path of delight. It's the path of creating consciously the honeymoon effect in your body. For so many years I wondered, is it possible to live in that state of just falling in love? Because how good does it feel when you're just falling in love with someone or something? And I have really been curious, and I've studied and explored, like, how is it that we can cultivate that physiological state? Because when it comes down to it, there are things going on physiologically that enable us to feel that way. So what is it, some things that we can choose today via the practices that we choose to start really cultivating that state and not waiting for it to happen outside of us? This is what I'm really excited about. In the practices and the teachings and the meditations that I bring you on this channel is all to get you into that path of delight. And like I said, it's a path that restores our innocence. It's a place where life can begin again. And imagine how empowered you could be if no matter what happened yesterday, you could believe that life can begin again today. No matter what happened in your relationships, no matter what happened in how your diet went, the food you ate, your lifestyle choices, no matter what, you could decide that life begins again. Because when you're in that honeymoon effect, you know you have that power to begin again. And it's also that place where you know you can learn new things. It's that growth mindset. It's a place where you just start seeing like all the beauty in the world. Like, you just can't help it, but it's like life becomes a musical and everyone's singing and dancing in the street. It's just an amazing state, a childlike state, playful state that enables us to learn, and that's what we really want to do. We all want to learn new programs, new ways of being, new ways that allow us to live from power, wholeness, liberating beliefs instead of old beliefs. Yeah. So there's so much to teach on this, and this is the heart of feminine wisdom, the path of delight. So look for more of this teaching this year, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to bring these teachings to you, because I'm not sure if a 7-minute or 13-minute YouTube video is the best way, but I will be touching on these topics, and my heart for the YouTube videos is to give you really applicable things and to give you really simple things you can weave into your day, whether it's just some ideas, some lifestyle tips, or if it's a guided meditation that you can hit play on and just spend 5, 10, 20 minutes getting into that state of delight, that state of presence, so it can infuse the rest of your day with a little more joy, more peace. So other things, I mean, we can go so much deeper on these topics, and I would say that if this is already something that's captivating your heart and you're hungry for more and you want more than just these 7 minutes weekly videos, then please join Feminine Wholeness University. I won't spend too much time talking about it because it's not the purpose of this live stream, but I just want you to know that it's there for you. Feminine Wholeness University is a library of talks, audio recordings, video practices, workbooks, journaling prompts, all created by me, 5 different courses to really support your wholeness. And you can sign up, it's only $34 a month, you can cancel anytime. And that's all I'll say about it. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can learn more and you can sign up, but that's a really good place to begin if you're ready to just dig in, get to it. And another thing is we're gonna start doing some monthly gatherings, some virtual safe place where it'll be more interactive. It'll be like around the full moon every month. The full moon is a great time to reflect, and it was a time that classically women would gather together to just celebrate and to connect and to really reflect on how life is going. And so, like I've said, 1,000 times, this is gonna be our best year ever. And one of the ways I want to create space for us to really experience that is just to have these regular check-ins where we can connect to each other candidly, and we can go through a ritual, sacred ritual together. It's nothing woo-woo-y, or you can make it as woo-woo-y as you want, but it's just, a ritual is just a regular thing that we do to connect to the sacred. And so many times I hear from women, they need a space. They need a time where they are dedicated to connecting to themselves. You know, life is busy, our schedules are full, life passes us by, and we just get into that frantic state of feeling kind of disembodied, disconnected from ourselves. So one of the things I can offer you guys is just a monthly place where we can meet, where we can talk. So that's called the Sophia Circle, and I'll leave a link to that below too, because I love this YouTube live streaming thing where I can read your comments, but better than this is where I can see your faces and we can actually talk together in real time, and yeah, just it's a little more transformational that way. So I'll bring you into a virtual Sophia sanctuary where we all get to see each other and hear each other, and that's just a powerful thing we can do monthly to keep growing together. Yes, Miriam says, I love the idea of full moon connection space. Danielle says, I love your guided meditations so much and really look forward to them. Oh, thank you. Joelle says, thank you so much, Morgan. Well, I think it's time to bring it to a close. So before I do, I'll just wrap it up with a short blessing. There was so much that was shared today. And like I said, I hope it just inspires a bigger vision, a little bigger vision, because you are made to create a life you love, to really live your best life, and to step into all God has for you. And you don't have to feel pressure around that or overwhelmed around that, because there is a gentle way, a beautiful path, the path of feminine wholeness that leads you into the path of delight, where every step along the way is beautiful in and of itself. And so you don't have to wait to get to the destination to start feeling more whole, more connected, more free, more joyful. So may you remember your wholeness, because each one of you have it. It belongs to you. It's there waiting for you inside. May you remember your wholeness, and from that wholeness, be inspired to dream bigger as you live each day in supreme agreement with love. And as you step into all God has for you, may you step via the door of delight. So thank you so much for being here with me. Grace and peace.